95% of Americans are failing at this one thing. Not exercise, not sleep, not even water intake. Fiber. The average American eats roughly 15 grams of fiber a day. The recommended amount is between 25 and 38 grams. That means most people are getting barely half of what their gut bacteria need to survive. And when your gut bacteria don't get enough fiber, they start eating something else instead. They eat you. Specifically, the protective mucus lining inside your intestines. Before we get into how that works, this is educational content based on peer-reviewed research, not medical advice. Your situation is unique, so always work with a healthcare provider on personal decisions. Now here's the thing most people get wrong about fiber. They think it's about digestion, about keeping things moving, about going to the bathroom more regularly. And yes, it can help with that, but that's like saying the ocean is just water. It's technically true, but it misses the most important part. Fiber is the single most critical fuel source for the trillions of bacteria living in your gut. Without it, your entire gut ecosystem begins to collapse. Let me explain what actually happens when fiber reaches your large intestine. See, fiber is a type of carbohydrate that your body cannot break down on its own. You don't have the enzymes for it, so it passes through your stomach and small intestine completely intact. But when it arrives in your colon, your large intestine, that's when the magic happens. Your gut bacteria do have the enzymes to break fiber down, and when they ferment it, they produce some of the most powerful health-promoting molecules in your entire body. They're called short-chain fatty acids, specifically 3 of them: acetate, propionate, and butyrate. And I need you to remember that last one, butyrate. Because in a moment, I'm going to show you why a 2024 study from Tokyo University of Science called it something extraordinary. We'll get to that. But first, you need to understand why these short-chain fatty acids matter so much. Butyrate provides roughly 60 to 70% of the energy that your colon cells need to function. Think about that. The cells that line your intestines get the majority of their fuel not from the food you eat, but from what your gut bacteria make when they break down fiber. Without enough butyrate, those colon cells start to weaken. The intestinal barrier begins to break down, and things that should stay inside your gut, bacteria, toxins, undigested food particles, begin leaking into your bloodstream. A landmark Lancet meta-analysis published in 2019 analyzed 185 prospective studies with nearly 135 million person-years of data. What they found was remarkable. People who ate the highest amounts of fiber had a 15 to 30% lower risk of dying from any cause compared to those who ate the least. They also had 16 to 24% lower rates of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, stroke, and colorectal cancer. And the benefits kept increasing all the way up to 25 to 29 grams per day. That's not a small effect. For every 8-gram increase in daily fiber, that's about 1 cup of lentils, deaths from coronary heart disease, diabetes, and colorectal cancer dropped by 5 to 27%. So the question becomes, why are 95% of us not getting enough? Here's where it gets really interesting, and this is what most people, even health-conscious people, don't realize. Not all fiber does the same thing, and your individual gut microbiome determines whether a specific fiber actually works for you. A groundbreaking 2024 study published in Nature Microbiology from the Institute for Systems Biology made a discovery that's changing how scientists think about fiber. They developed a way to model individual gut microbiomes, essentially creating a digital twin of each person's gut, and they used it to predict how different people would respond to the same dietary fibers. What they found was eye-opening. Some people on a high-fiber diet showed almost no increase in butyrate production. They called them non-responders, and a small subset actually saw their butyrate levels drop on a high-fiber diet. They were called regressors, same fiber, same dose. Completely different outcomes, all because of the unique composition of bacteria already living in their guts. This is why the advice to simply eat more fiber is an oversimplification. It's not wrong, but it's incomplete. Your gut bacteria are like a factory. Fiber is the raw material, but different factories have different machines. If your gut is missing the specific bacteria that break down a particular type of fiber, that fiber may pass through without producing the beneficial short-chain fatty acids you need. Now, a separate pooled analysis published in 2024 in NPJ Biofilms and Microbiomes looked at 14 different dietary fiber intervention studies. And they found that even though individual responses vary, certain fibers consistently boosted butyrate production across most people. The two standouts were inulin-type fructans and resistant starch. Both reliably increased the abundance of bacteria carrying the butyryl-CoA transferase gene. That's the gene responsible for making butyrate. So while personalization matters, there are certain fiber types that appear to work for the majority of people. And I'll tell you exactly which foods contain them in just a minute. But first, let me tell you about something that happens when you don't get enough fiber. And it's genuinely alarming. Quick note. I've put a comprehensive guide in the description with links to all the studies I'm referencing. Now, remember at the beginning I said your gut bacteria will eat you if you don't feed them? That's not an exaggeration. Research from Dr. Eric Martins at the University of Michigan, published in the journal Cell and further confirmed by a 2024 study in Cell Host and Microbe, showed exactly this mechanism in action. When they fed mice a fiber-rich diet, the mucus layer lining their intestines stayed thick and healthy. That mucus layer is your gut's primary defense system. It's what keeps bacteria and pathogens from touching the actual cells of your intestinal wall. But when they removed fiber from the diet, even for just a few days, certain bacteria began switching their food source. Instead of fermenting fiber, they started breaking down the mucus layer itself. Two bacteria in particular thrived in these low-fiber conditions: Akkermansia mucinifila and Bacteroides cacae. Both are perfectly normal residents of a healthy gut, but without fiber, they begin consuming the protective mucus faster than your body can replenish it. The 2024 follow-up study showed that this mucus erosion, bringing bacteria just 10 to 100 microns closer to the intestinal tissue, was enough to trigger inflammation in genetically susceptible mice. As Dr. Martins put it, the lesson we're learning from studying the interaction of fiber, gut microbes, and the intestinal barrier system is that if you don't feed them, they can eat you. And here's the part that might surprise you. Even alternating between high fiber and low fiber days, like eating healthy one day and processed food the next, still resulted in a mucus layer that was only about half as thick as consistent high-fiber feeding. This research suggests that fiber isn't just a nice-to-have. It may be essential for maintaining the physical barrier that protects your gut from the bacteria living inside it. Now let me tell you about the Tokyo University of Science discovery I mentioned earlier, because this changes the conversation about fiber from gut health to whole-body health. In January 2024, a research team led by Professor Chiharu Nishiyama published a study in the Journal of Immunology that uncovered something remarkable about fiber-derived short-chain fatty acids. They found that butyric acid and valeric acid, two short-chain fatty acids produced when gut bacteria ferment fiber, significantly suppressed allergic reactions in mice. Here's how it works. These short-chain fatty acids interact with immune cells called mast cells, the cells responsible for releasing histamine during allergic reactions, through two distinct pathways. First, they bind to a receptor called GPR109A, which triggers a chemical cascade that ultimately prevents mast cells from releasing histamine. Less histamine means less allergic response. Second, and this is the fascinating part, they work through epigenetics. The short-chain fatty acids act as histone deacetylase inhibitors, which essentially means they can change which genes are active in your immune cells without altering your DNA. Specifically, they reduce the expression of IgE receptors, which are the receptors that trigger allergic reactions. Professor Nishiyama noted that the increasing frequency of allergic diseases may be connected to changes in dietary patterns over recent decades. Now, this was a mouse study, and more research is needed to confirm these effects in humans. But it adds to a growing body of evidence that the short-chain fatty acids produced from fiber fermentation have effects far beyond the gut itself. A 2024 review published in the Journal of Gastroenterology and Hepatology mapped how short-chain fatty acids travel from the colon into the bloodstream and affect virtually every organ system. Butyrate helps regulate blood sugar through GLP-1 secretion. Propionate influences cholesterol metabolism in the liver. Acetate affects appetite regulation in the brain. The key takeaway is this: fiber isn't just feeding your gut bacteria. It's providing the raw material for a whole pharmacy of health-promoting molecules that your body distributes throughout your entire system. So now the big question: what should you actually eat? Let me walk you through the practical application of everything we've covered. First, understand the two main categories. Soluble fiber dissolves in water and forms a gel-like substance. This is the type that slows digestion, helps regulate blood sugar, and is the primary fuel for many beneficial bacteria. You'll find it in oats, beans, lentils, apples, citrus fruits, and chia seeds. Insoluble fiber doesn't dissolve. It adds bulk and helps move things through your digestive system. You'll find it in whole wheat, nuts, seeds, and the skins of fruits and vegetables. But here's the insight from the research: your gut benefits most from variety. The American Gut Project found that people who eat more than 30 different types of plants per week have significantly more diverse gut microbiomes than those who eat 10 or fewer. Now, based on the research I've covered today, here are 5 practical fiber strategies. Strategy 1. Focus on resistant starch. This is a type of fiber that consistently boosts butyrate production across most microbiome types. You'll find it in cooked and cooled potatoes, cooked and cooled rice, green bananas, and legumes. When you cook starch and then cool it, the molecular structure changes into a form that resists digestion, meaning more of it reaches your gut bacteria. Strategy 2. Add inulin-rich foods. Inulin is a prebiotic fiber that the pooled research showed reliably increases butyrate-producing bacteria. Natural sources include garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, chicory root, and Jerusalem artichokes. Strategy 3. Increase gradually. If you currently eat 15 grams a day, don't jump to 35 overnight. Your gut bacteria population needs time to adjust. Increase by about 5 grams per week to avoid bloating and gas. This gives your fiber-fermenting bacteria time to grow to match the new supply. Strategy 4. Diversify your sources. Don't rely on a single fiber supplement or one type of food. Eat a variety of whole grains, legumes, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Different fibers feed different bacteria, and diversity in your fiber intake promotes diversity in your microbiome. Strategy 5. Be consistent. Remember the University of Michigan research. Even alternating between high fiber and low fiber days left the mucus layer compromised. Daily consistency may matter more than occasional high fiber meals. And here's one more insight. Research shows that a 2-week dietary fiber intervention can significantly shift the composition of your gut microbiome, with known fiber-degrading bacteria like Bifidobacterium and Lactobacillus increasing in response. Your gut bacteria can adapt faster than you might expect. So let me bring this all together. Fiber is not just roughage. It's not just about digestion. It is the foundational fuel that your entire gut ecosystem depends on. Without it, your gut bacteria begin consuming your protective mucus barrier. With it, they produce short-chain fatty acids, butyrate, propionate, and acetate, that power your colon cells, regulate your immune system, influence your blood sugar, and may even protect against allergic reactions. The research is overwhelming. A massive Lancet meta-analysis showed 15 to 30% reductions in death from all causes among high-fiber eaters. New modeling from the Institute for Systems Biology revealed that individual responses to fiber depend on your unique microbiome composition, meaning the specific types and variety of fiber you eat matters as much as the total amount. And yet, 95% of Americans still aren't getting enough. The solution isn't complicated. Eat more legumes, more vegetables, more whole grains, more resistant starch. Start slowly, build gradually, and stay consistent. Remember, What we've covered today is what research shows in controlled studies. Your body is unique, and a qualified professional can help you apply these insights to your specific situation. Everything we covered is linked in the description. Subscribe for new gut health research every week. Next time, we're diving into something fascinating, the myths about gut health that even scientists used to believe, and the new research that's proving them wrong. You won't want to miss it. See you there.